Magandang hapon, Tess.
Magandang hapon, Paulo. Maayong hapon sa inyong tanan. Welcome to Pinoy Homes Canada, Episode 7.
7. Yeah, so another week, and now we have another major mortgage rule change. So I'm
Another
sure
one.
you've heard, yet now the government is allowing insured mortgages to be refinanced na hanggang 90% ng loan to value. So that
That's
means
right.
if you have $1 million property, you can refinance your current mortgage up to 900,000. Before that, our refinances was only up to 80%, and it wasn't really insured. It was uninsured when you do a refinance.
Right.
But this specific rule change is for the purpose of constructing an additional unit. So a secondary suite so you're allowed to up to 4 units on your
Mm-hmm.
principal residence, right? And this takes effect in January 15th of 2025. So
Right.
I think
Just
I've been trying to figure out how I feel about this change with everything that's happening. I've actually tried to listen to iba-ibang experts then about this and what their opinions are. I think I don't know. There's a argument for both sides in terms of this
mm-hmm.
change. Kasi dati, I think back in 2016, it was allowed to up to 90%, I believe. And now they're bringing it back from my understandings.
Mm-hmm.
Kung na offered din siya dati.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is that?
In regards to what? Now, what the reason is?
Yes, the increase
Well,
increased LTV of up to 90%.
well, the economy is not doing that well overall. So a lot of these changes is to help kind of stimulate the economy, right? So that's what our last episode we talked about 3 major changes, and then now just a week or a few weeks later they come up with this, which is pretty major, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a few details about this change again. So now you can refinance your mortgage up to 90% for the purpose of constructing additional units up to 4 units, including the existing one, right?
When you say
So
4 units, Pau, sorry. When you say 4 units, does that mean 4 bedrooms or four
four
different
separate
properties? Oh, four
four
separate.
separate units.
Just for clarity for our viewers.
Yeah. So your principal home. So ideally, this is for like a detached home. Either you can construct a basement apartment, separate entrance, and you have to abide by fire code and all of that, or
Mm-hmm.
like they were promoting or loosen the regulations for laneway housing, like the garden suites, which is an additional unit at the back that can be used towards
Okay.
like an in-law suite or what, right?
So within the vicinity, within your lot.
Within your property, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is really promoting for owner occupied homes. So now you're going to have owner occupied rental properties that are all separate units,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
So
All
so
right.
yeah, so a few of the details like I mentioned. So one is it has to be already owned property,
Mm-hmm.
and then it is either the owner or a close relative, which it hasn't really been defined yet what that means. Has to be residing in one of the units. The funds that is going to be refinanced is going to be specifically used for the construction of additional units. It's going to need to be for a long-term rental. So this cannot be for short-term rental. Like you cannot do this construction and then do Airbnb,
Right.
right? Uh,
So they're looking at, I guess, 1 year lease at least or something, but they haven't
yes.
really cleared that up yet. It's still
Yeah,
kind of
that's the
vague.
hard part with a lot of these rules. They kind of put it out there, and then the fine print doesn't come till closer to the date. So this is not going to be introduced till January 15th. So we're still
Right.
waiting on the details of how it's gonna what the details are on how they're gonna implement it, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like this the government is doing this to see what the to hear the opinion of people, see what they have to say, this and that, and then make the adjustments accordingly
I agree.
until the final day.
Because you would think that they come up with a plan and they put it out with everything is already
Y- y-
all of the small
all
details are
planned
already
out.
in place,
Right.
but this always
I
happens.
don't
It's like
see that.
Yeah, they come up with this plan, and then they give it 2 or 3 months for the effective date, and then they tweak it, as you said, most likely just to
Exactly.
kind of see what people's
Exactly.
opinions are from what they're putting out there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it must be legal units, basement suites with separate entrance, and like I mentioned, the laneway or garden suites. That is, an additional unit at the back. That's what the funds need to be used for. Max 4 units, including the existing unit. Um, it's the improved value. So basically, what you need to do is you need to get, well, again, the
Appraised.
details are not there. It has to be an appraisal of the future value or the improved value, and it cannot exceed 2 million for this type of loan. The max
Mm-hmm.
loan amount is up to 90% of that. The maximum of up to the 2 million is 1.8 million. So you can have a mortgage up to 1.8 million on this property, with they're allowing up to 30-year amortization to kind of
Mm.
lower your carrying cost.
Yeah.
And the additional financing must not exceed the cost of the project of upgrading. So you cannot be like, okay, I'm refinancing, I'm taking out 300,000, but the project is only like 200,000, for instance.
Okay.
Okay. So those are the details. And I wanted to list down the pros and cons. And like what I was saying is, like, yeah, I had to kind of see how I really feel about this change. I think
Yeah.
the pros, I'll talk about the pros that I think is it's going to help homeowners with lowering their monthly cash flow, just because houses are expensive right now. So this will help alleviate that by having a rental income. Let's say, if it's average, I think
This
mortgage these days, in at least in the GTA, you're probably looking at 4,000. So if you can have an
right.
income suite generating 1,500 to 2,000,
2,000 per
then
basement,
that
for example.
mhm, then your overhead is down to like the 2,000, right?
Two.
For your own mortgage.
Right.
I
That's
think
that's good.
it
If
definitely
that is
helps
the
on cash
case,
flow.
yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows Canadians to take advantage of the easing of the regulations. So this laneway housing, and then garden suites, the bylaws just changed on this recently, right? But the problem was, for people to be able to take advantage of it, was they don't have financing, and a lot of that financing was coming from the private sector. So now
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's this allows them to be able to do a refinance with an insured mortgage, which is going to be lower cost than the private financing that people were utilizing before.
Yeah. And of course,
Right.
they still have to go through approval and all that kind of stuff. The same process, right?
For sure. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it has to be approved. You have to qualify for it, like as a normal mortgage, but now
Mm-hmm.
you have access to up to 90% equity
Higher.
of your home.
That's right. So, what do you think are the
Uh,
cons for this, Pal?
just to finish off, so another pro would be, this additional units, and you're adding value to your property, so that drives up your market value in your
That is
property.
great news. Yeah.
Hmm. And then lastly, it increases the housing supply that we desperately need in Canada. So now with that comes cons, right? um
Absolutely.
yeah, so the number one con, I think, is I don't know if they're addressing, like, they're saying that they're kind of stimulating, and then adding density and to the cities, right? But I don't know if you've driven, like, I'm originally, like, Brampton, Mississauga area, and those areas are already very populated, and like everything's busy, traffic's there, like stores are, very busy, that
It's only going to get worse.
yeah, it's going to get worse with now, because you're having existing properties, you're building on it, and you're having more people reside in these areas, but I don't know if there's enough of the infrastructure
Right. And
that can accommodate.
they haven't also thought about the parking spots. More people requires parking spots since, having a car is a necessity in this
Hmm.
country,
Hmm.
you
No,
know.
for sure. So that's why,
So,
ideally, like I believe that this would only be applicable to detached homes. So you're not looking at Actually, I might be wrong, but I would assume that this is only for detached homes. That if you have a semi, you cannot take advantage of this, because then, like, yeah, the limited space, right, with let's say a semi-detached or a
Hmm.
townhouse.
That's what I was
So
thinking too. They haven't really clearly
defined.
mentioned that, yeah, or
Hmm.
defined it. There's no details, concrete details. Kaya hindi natin alam kung ano talaga. So we shall see. It's like
So
a
we shall
brain
see,
game.
is
Yeah.
really exactly. So we'll talk in the new year, and then the lagging effect that it's going to be effective January 15th. And by the time that these units are constructed, we're not going to see the
Yeah,
effects of it till maybe in the latter part of the year or the following year, right?
that's right.
Hmm.
So I guess we're going to be seeing a lot more people, especially investors who can afford it, because
Hmm.
not for everybody, obviously.
Hmm.
Uh, yung magre-renovate ng mga basements, ganon, tapos paparentahan nila sa ibang tao. That's another
Hmm.
thing. That's a negative, I guess, for some people who doesn't mind. Seeing more people that's going through your house, like not your
Hmm.
within your house, but outside of your house, because you know what I mean. There's
The
gonna be a lot
limited
of traffic.
space. And yeah, and
Yeah,
like it's tough when you're living in close quarters, and most like you have to get soundproofing done and all of that, so that you're not kind of hearing each
there's
other,
a lot.
especially if it's a basement suite.
There's a
So
lot to consider, and the neighbors sometimes are not very friendly. They don't like too many people,
mhm,
renters in the area. Too
mhm,
many things, but really, it's that's something you have to think about.
mhm.
Too
and
many
and
changes.
yeah, and aside from that, the next point I was going to make was now, like, with all of these changes, this change now that you can go up to 90% for constructing uh, additional units, and then the first time home buyer rule going up to like 1.5 million of a purchase price. I think the government is kind of um, incentivizing, like, people to take on more debt, which I think can be dangerous. Like, what, don't get me wrong, like, I think from an investor standpoint, and if you know what you're doing, you can definitely leverage this and come out on top. But it can also be dangerous for people that are just doing it for the first time, let's say. So definitely talk to professionals when you're considering this, because it can be very risky, because you are now you're taking on debt up to like 1.8 million. I know that allows you to have up to 3 rental units within your property, which is great, but that comes with risk.
Always, yes, that's right.
Hmm.
So I guess just to reiterate in Tagalog, ang pagre-refinance ng mortgage upang makuha yung 90% na loan to value ng inyong property ay para magtayo ng mga paupahan or rental, it's a big decision. So it's really important that you weigh your options, you know. Mahalaga para sa mga may-ari or homeowners na timbangin ang mga pros and cons, pag-aralan ng mabuti. You have to really study it at tumingin ng payo, ask the experts, upang masigurado ang desisyon o action na tugma, okay, o bagay sa kanilang mga plano para sa kasalukuyang kalagayan sa buhay. How about that? In other words, let's say it in English, homeowners should weigh their pros and cons carefully, conduct thorough research, and seek professional advice. This is a must, to determine if this opportunity aligns with their
Hmm.
financial goals and personal circumstances.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah,
that's a lot of money to
so
take on.
mhm. Yeah, and definitely, like, that's why I kind of feel like kind of 50-50 on this change, because I think it will definitely enable people that's willing to do the work, and willing to take a bit more risk, because it is a bigger undertaking when you're increasing your mortgage, and then there's construction risk. Like, we've both kind of done renovations, there's headaches
Yes.
that come with it, and now you're like doing a separate additional, so can go over budget. And by the time that you recoup that money,
You already
hopefully you've
lost a
done the
lot.
yeah hopefully you've done the calculations, right?
Yes,
Like,
right.
how long will it
Because that's
take
the
me
plan.
to get this 100, 200, $300,000 back of renovation cost, right? Will it take me 5 years, 10 years, and how much is it increasing the value of my house? So there's a lot to consider. It's not for everybody, because there is a lot of work
No.
involved with it.
Yeah.
So, but for the people that are investors, I think it is good, because
Yeah.
it's hard to buy a property now, especially in Ontario and Vancouver and BC,
Toronto.
that
Yeah.
it's hard to buy a rental and be cash flow positive. So now
Yeah, a lot of them are
this
negative.
so what this does is it allows people to buy that, let's say, detached home that typically you would be on a negative cash flow, but now that you're able to add additional units through this financing option, and then now you can be cash flow positive living in, the house, and you're not paying, 5,000, $6,000 $7,000 of a mortgage, because now you have some rental income to offset your mortgage for that
If done right, if done correctly, this can be very lucrative,
for
to
sure.
homeowners.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
as long
actually
as they
something
do
that
their due diligence.
it's something that we can dive into, I guess, in another episode, on how we can guide people
Right.
to take
Plan it
advantage of
carefully.
this. Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
hmm So,
Yeah.
but so overall, like I said, I think, there's definitely pros and cons. The people For people out there, just be careful. Definitely, it's bigger risk, but if you're doing willing to do your homework and, kind of be careful and talk to professionals, it definitely can be advantageous.
That's right. I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
You can make a lot of, yeah, I mean, any rental amount that will help in your mortgage payment is a huge help. At
hmm
least you're getting something. It's something to fall back into, because some people lost their jobs, so it's always
hmm
good to have something on the side, passive income,
hmm
for example, like this one. That there's always money coming in. You just
hmm
have, again, there's another thing that to consider is to choose the right tenants, right?
For sure.
That's another topic, obviously,
That's
because
another
that's
topic
very,
for sure.
very
I think
controversial.
yeah, I think we're definitely going to jump into that. And I've been fortunate in, my years of like
Yes,
owning
yeah,
properties, and but
getting
it's
the right
because,
tenants.
yeah, my background is like underwriting, and it's almost like when I get a tenant, I'm trying to qualify them almost for a mortgage. Like, what's the
Oh,
story,
that's
right?
good. Yeah,
So
that's
I have
good.
that background. You check credit bureaus and see, you kind of get the idea of who will pay and not pay at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's right. You
So
already
that's
have the
another
history of.
episode for sure. Mhm.
Yeah, no, we have to talk about that. That's important.
Just my last thought on this. I know the
Okay.
government is encouraging Canadians to be landlords by introducing this, but they need to fix the Landlord and Tenant Act. Uh, I know it's heavily weighted on favoring the tenants, which
Tenants. Yeah.
I which I agree with. Like, like you have to protect the tenants, but you also have to protect the landlord. It has to be some type of balance, because time and time right now you're hearing that a lot of landlords, like, and I've seen it on TV, that these tenants are actually going on TV that flat out saying, I'm not paying, and the
They can't do
government can't do
anything about
anything,
it.
and the
Yeah.
police cannot interfere, right? So yeah, they have to find a balance there if they're encouraging this, because then this is going to be a lot of headaches for landlords as well
Also, it discourages a lot of landlords to buy
to
more
do. hmm
investment properties, right? Because of this, they're traumatized.
hmm
Well, I'm not really like siding to the tenants, but I think there should be a balance, and
for
also
sure.
the waiting time for the
To get a
tribunal
hearing,
should,
like, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
should be, should be faster than 8 or 9
hmm
months. That's too long. By
hmm
that time, the landlords, not all
You're
landlords has
tens and
money. Yeah.
yeah, like the landlord could be down tens and thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah.
From this, so that's why they're encouraging this. They have to fix another area. So that's my
Yeah.
thought on that, because even for me, that I've had the experience of this, it kind of, from hearing everything now that's happening, especially in Ontario. I don't know what the rules are in other provinces, but they have to fix it, because they're gonna start encouraging Canadians to be landlords. They have to make sure that this Landlord and Tenant Act is about, it's balanced, that
Yeah.
favors both, right?
Only then. That's right.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm So yeah,
So
so I
what's
think
next?
that sums up this new change that come up, but that just came up. I think this was last week, right? So every week, I
Hmm.
think we're talking about new mortgage rule changes. So
I wonder what's
I I I.
next.
I I am concerned that it's all happening too quickly. That then we'll have another issue that they overstimulated the market, and then we
Right.
have some other downturn to have to deal with. But yeah, so
We
now I'll
can,
leave it up to
yeah.
you. I'll pass it over to you, Tess, in terms of the September market update. and also to have a quick chat about how inflation's doing.
Okay, so you know how you asked me point blank last time about the month to month market update, and I was like, I wasn't prepared for that because I just did a year over year, so now I have the numbers. So I'm gonna compare the market update of August, which is last. So because we're doing September, right? Obviously, we can't do the existing month, which is of October. So we're doing September versus the month before, which is August. The sales for August was the sales in September compared to the month before was up slightly 0.4%. For new listing, it was up. That was very high. It was up 44.2%. So in September, that's how
Wow.
high the new listings are. So I guess there's more
So mas
properties for
madaming
sale.
naglilist.
Nagbebenta,
So there's
yeah. I think
there's more inventory.
more
Yeah.
inventory, so it's good for buyers. They have more properties to choose from.
Mhm.
That's just month over month, eh? That's crazy.
That's a big
44.2% new
change.
listings.
44%. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But
So
there's
I
really not
think
much change, to be honest
yeah,
with you,
I think
because
what's happening is a lot of people were holding back because they're not getting the prices, and now with slightly lower
the rate is
rates,
still high. Yeah, the rate is
it's
still the
overall
rate.
still high, but you're starting to
Yeah.
see kind of low fours, which is reasonable as opposed to where we were, 6 months to a year ago when you're looking at
Mm-hmm.
six, like, uh, high fives and 6%, right? So it's still been a significant change, but is it enough? Probably not. We probably still need to
Not
see
yet. It's
like
not yeah. It's
probably
not
another
substantial.
1% will what would stimulate the market more, right?
Yeah, and we'll get to that. So the
Mm-hmm,
active listings right now in the market is up 13.1% month to month, month over month change. The average price is down slightly higher, 3.1% from August to September. And for the average listing days on market, it's minus 1 day. So in August, it was like the properties are, they get sold 28 days, and on September
now
it's
you're down
27
27.
days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just one
Well,
day earlier.
it's trending the right way, so that it's always good. So
It's not a lot, but it's something. We have to start somewhere. As for the inflation, that's another great news, I guess you could
mhm,
say, right?
mhm,
Depending on how you see it. Inflation was down 1.6%. I believe that happened on Tuesday announcement
mhm,
just
I
this
believe
week.
so.
So
Mhm,
yeah, so Canadian inflation fell to 1.6% year over year, September 2024. That is the smallest yearly increase since 2021.
yeah.
That's like you said, we're heading towards the right direction. And
Mhm,
prices for day-to-day basics such as rent and food purchases from stores have increased significantly over the past 3 years.
mhm,
We know why, because of that. And the central bank's core inflation measures remained unchanged in September, prompting speculation about a potential rate cut. And here it
mhm,
is. The inflation report indicates that the central bank may have more room to reduce rates further to support economic growth. And home sales have been increasing since rate cuts began, but new listings at the same time have risen at a faster pace.
mhm,
You see what I mean? Because there has to be a balance, right? So experts are speculating that stronger than expected job reports in September reduces the likelihood of a 50 basis points rate cut on Wednesday, which is next Wednesday, October
next was the
23rd.
23rd. Yeah.
Yeah, next week.
So yeah, so
So that's the thing.
that's something we'll definitely talk about next episode is where everybody's watching kung gaano ibababa pa yung um
Mhm.
the sorry, the overnight rate. Because
Yeah,
the expectation right now is
zero
it
point
could be
0.5.
0.25 to 5.5.
Zero point
So
0.5,
we
yeah.
will see. But yeah,
For sure, for like before end of the year, for sure it will be zero point 0.5. I mean, I shouldn't say for sure
combined
because I don't
the
know,
one
but
mhm,
combined, yeah, combined.
combined, yeah.
But
Yeah. So we're
I think in springtime we're gonna be super busy because
mhm.
that's where we're heading right now. If
Well,
this inflation rate is gonna keep going downwards, we're gonna have
mhm.
more reduction.
Well,
You know,
just to clarify again, or to like the goal was 2%. That's why they're
We
decreasing
surpassed
this
that.
overnight rate. Now we're below that.
Yeah.
So there's also a point where it could not be healthy for the economy for it to keep
Mm-hmm.
going down, because then you'll
Down.
be
Yeah.
in a deflationary situation, which is also not good for the economy, because then there's no spending, the economy will be contracting, so there's no growth. So that's
Right.
something that they have to watch out for. So right now, yeah, it's just a number right now, but where it
Yeah.
trends down or goes up, like is
Yeah.
remains to be seen. But yeah, just to update, it's where it's supposed to be, or slightly lower, and then now the government has to kind of make decisions
And now we'll
based
just
on
wait and
this
see.
information.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Exactly. So I guess the sellers are going to be happy because when the rates goes down, the price of houses are going up. Hopefully they don't buy too, because if they do buy, they're in the same market. They're going to be looking at buying at a higher price too. A lot of them, they
Hmm.
don't think about that. They just keep thinking about, "Oh, I'm going to get more money for my property when I sell it." But if
Hmm.
you're buying, guess what? You're buying at a high price too. But for
Yeah.
buyers right now, it's still a very good time to buy if you are financially ready.
Hmm.
There are a lot of ways to get into the market right now. Just
Hmm.
speak to your realtor, and
Hmm.
they should be able to guide you through.
No, for sure. So
Get
yeah,
pre-approved. Get pre-approved.
mhm. Yeah, that's definitely number one. Get your pre-approval so that you're not shopping blind there on what you can qualify for.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like you mentioned, right, like there's definitely opportunity out there if you're financially ready. It's different uh per per individual, per family, so make sure that you're getting the right advice.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Mm. Okay, was there anything else
Is there
that you
any
wanted to touch on today?
today? No, that's it. That's it.
No.
I was just actually shocked that the inflation went down again. I'm like, okay, if it's gonna go down even more, we might be questionable, but we shall see what
Yeah,
happens.
well,
Nobody
that
has
like in everything, right, there has to be
nobody
a
has a crystal
balance,
ball.
right?
Exactly.
There has to
Yeah.
be a balance. So if it goes down too much, that's not good as well. So let's stay on top of it, and kind of keep everybody informed on what's happening.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Again, with the new changes right now, with all the changes that we've had so far, always speak to the experts, speak to your mortgage advisor, to your realtor, to the lawyer,
Mhm.
speak up, ask questions. So that way you're going to be on the right track. Otherwise, you're going to be, stuck on something that you could have asked earlier, right? And be informed on things
Sounds
like
good.
this. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
Tess, I think that wraps up our episode for
episode,
today. And again, for everybody, make sure you like, subscribe, follow us at on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube
YouTube.
Shorts, and it's all the
Yeah.
same handle at Pinoy Homes Canada. And until next time,
Hanggang sa susunod na pagkakataon po, happy house hunting. See you again next week, right?
yeah, next week. Okay, take care.
Okay. Take care. Bye.